Thank you.
Thank you so much, Thomas. I'm just going to make this large. There we go. Hi, everyone. As Thomas kindly introduced, I'm Clare Seldon from Steer, based in the UK, and I'm going to be doing 3 talks today. And the first one here is with Tony Pearce from T-Kartor, our partners in Sweden. So here's another, I'm 4-5 hours ahead, and he's another hour ahead of that. But we've managed to squeeze you in early part of our evening. And we're going to first talk about Toronto and our TO360 wayfinding. So our content, we're going to introduce ourselves. I'm going to talk a little bit about the Toronto wayfinding city scheme. Then Tony's going to talk a bit about the base data set and the difference between the GIS data and the cartographic output. Then I'm going to run through the TO360 family and the other products developed from the TO360 base map. Then Tony will talk to us a bit about the management of the data and the data set behind it, and then wrap up with a bit about the future for Toronto and TO360, and then hopefully have some time for Q&A as well. So we've got 20 minutes. So first up. So Tony, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yes, thanks. Tony Pearce from work for T-Kartor in Sweden. We do city wayfinding, which is base maps for wayfinding, as this Toronto example. We've also done other ones in London and New York. Anything you want to know about that, go to citywayfinding.com. A shameless plug for my website there. Over to you, Claire.
Thank you, Tony. And as I said, I'm Clare Seldon. I'm a chartered geographer and cartographer at Steer now for over 12 years. Lead the mapping and geospatial offer within our Design for Movement team, a global design team within the Steer consultancy. And our design team brings together a mix of experts from all kinds of areas, including urban design, landscape architecture, digital design, cartography, geospatial analytics, and master planning. I work a lot on wayfinding projects and location planning too, but also support our wider advisory and development planning teams with maps for toll roads, major sporting events, residential development, transport agencies, etc. It's a very varied role. So the City of Toronto, it is a central component of the city's goal to make Toronto a more walkable, welcoming and understandable place for residents and visitors. The City of Toronto launched the Toronto 360, here known as TO360, wayfinding project in 2011 in order to develop a unified system for the city. The program includes pedestrian, vehicular, cyclist and transit information projects delivered consistently by the city and by third parties. Wayfinding information is communicated through a variety of touch points such as on-street signage and handheld maps. Following the successful completion of a pilot project in the downtown financial district in 2015, TO360 began an ambitious implementation program delivering over 200 signs across large areas of downtown and in select areas beyond, such as North York Centre and Scarborough Centre. Further expansion then happened across Midtown at transit corridors and in other neighbourhoods, supported by transit agencies like BikeShare with over 450 map posters and contributions from business improvement areas. Tony.
Right, yeah, so to create a system for wayfinding that is going to create hundreds of products, of wayfinding products around the city, we created a core seamless base map for TO360 in a GIS. We started by using the Municipal Dataset from Toronto, Geospatial Competence Centre. And we used open source references, orthophoto and field studies to complement that, to create a topographic base for the whole city. This slide here illustrates some of the differences between the municipal GIS data set and a fit-for-purpose pedestrian wayfinding design. We had to process a lot of the data by, for example, merging buildings. You see this the hospital here. We've merged a lot of building polygons to create one for a clearer representation and a more legible map. For example, the most important information on this hospital is the entrance and the A&E. Below, we've enhanced some, on the right there on the below, we've enhanced some of the data around parks to show public footpaths, because footpaths might not be the highest priority for this data set, municipal data set, but it certainly is for wayfinding, of pedestrian wayfinding. Some of the data we needed to enhance were public and private access, footpaths, especially through parks or hidden walkways. The accuracy of sidewalks was enhanced, and generalizing buildings to match our main building criteria. Once we'd made a topographic base map for the whole city, we then used that as a basis for content planning, and then with stakeholder consultations, we gained a consensus on content feature selection, hierarchy, naming conventions, to get a local perspective on the base map and to make sure it fits in with the local needs. Once the base map was quality controlled and approved, it can then be used to output tons of products, which Claire's team then started to create the artworks with. Over to you, Claire.
Thank you. That was just making me think about Steve's keynote talk earlier, talking about the amount of work going into cleaning the data before doing anything. And also I was thinking about the predicting side of this AI and saying, look, we're hoping to try and predict where people want to go and the walking directions and give them the information that they need as they're going. So that was something that I was keen on talking about there as well. So I'm now going to talk about the core TO360 products that have come from that database. So we have a wide and a narrow map sign, usually used, they're fairly similar, but obviously depending on the location that they're going to be put in, whether there's room for a wide map sign or if it's along a linear route. Sometimes the narrow ones are used more often. We also have a wall mount sign where that's necessary, and a finger post. So I'm going to just go through each of those. So a narrow map sign, we have information like the actual TO360 logo, which is key to identifying all of our featured products. We include the district so people know where they are, the intersection as well, and then the map panel, and that includes things such as the directional pointers, cultural and heritage information and imagery as well, both of the maps. So we have a local area map and a context map, which we'll go into more detail about soon. The off-map pointers as well, key information. We also included a UR facing sign, because not everybody's always, when we have heads-up mapping like this, not everyone's quite sure of which way they are actually facing when they want to look at in a particular direction, especially new visitors to an area. And the logos and the footer information. So this was the design that was created sympathetically for Toronto. We had this bespoke solution designed and created with our partners to emulate some of the Toronto landscape and architecture. And here you can see how we've taken the colouring and everything as well through onto the map as well. So it is one joined up product. So we have heads up local area map design, including a 5-minute walk circle, which is shown in red on the maps with the "you are here" in red, and they're the only red features in this base mapping. The mini point of interest illustration buildings and tiered hierarchy for all content. So this again went through, as Tony was talking about, the consultation information with the general public and key stakeholders to talk about which key landmark buildings would be designed for the drawings to highlight the buildings, and which aspects of the picture of the buildings that were needed to put on as well. So we have 1 to 2,500 scale for the local area maps, although we also have 1 to 1,700 scale in selected areas, and the context map of 1 to 9,000 scale. And the map design integrates the colour palette from the sign using the contrasting orange for the key features. As mentioned, we also have a wall mount sign, which obviously is flat against the wall. It has the same map panel, the same local area map and content, and the design feature adapted to include an angled top cap. So it has a similar feel as well as the look and the colours of the rest of the family. And then we have the finger posts. So here, hopefully, I really love this picture on the bottom right here of the copper roofs. So hopefully you'll have noticed the colouring is in line with the rooftops in Toronto and the architectural design, and that's where a lot of the inspiration came from. So the finger posts are able to point in up to 8 different directions, and the destinations are all managed from the same map database. So if the name is changed, for example, for an arena name change, if the sponsors change, then the database that Tony's going to talk about later will highlight these changes to all products, including all the finger posts as well. So it's a part of the key core products. And these are some of the complementary TO360 products. So we have transit shelter poster, we have an info pillar poster, we have bike share posters, Ttc Station Posters, and then the 2 paper products, the Toronto Visitor Map and the Toronto Cycling Map. The transit shelter and info pillar mapping are not altered from the local map styles already produced for the wide, narrow and wall map signs from earlier, although they also have a 1 to 3,500 scale version available in less dense areas. However, the other products here have been adapted to enhance the particular mode the user is integrating with, and I'm going to detail those a little further. So first up is the bike share poster. This has a wider coverage, but the same 1 to 2,500 scale map, and has a simplified design base map, plus the bike share station names and bike routes information. E-bike stations are also highlighted in a different colour, so that users are able to find them more easily for the docking requirements. And the service area map is right at the top of the poster there, is 1 to 45,000 scale, and highlights the extent of the scheme to encourage participation across the whole scheme. And you can see one of our client members there in the snow, not getting on a bike at that time, but typical Toronto weather, I think there. And next up we have the Ttc Station Posters. So this map also retains the same 1 to 2,500 scale of the local area maps, but has additional overlays for the bus and tram network. Some features were adapted for clarity, and the station footprints were added to help users find the correct entrance or exits. Next up we have the visitor map. So this is our first handheld paper product that we created in this project, and a new scale was needed. So this was derived from the original map data using centerline data, and drawn at 1 to 12,500 scale for the downtown section, and 1 to 100,000 scale for the citywide map on the reverse. So the design colours and font styles were all adapted for use on this medium. In addition to the base information, we added the neighbourhood areas and the transit routes, including the tram, to help users plan their journeys across the wider area. Generally on the wayfinding maps we don't show the transit route or the tram routes, we just show the stops and the entrances and exits, obviously a much more detailed scale. But for this one it was a key feature for people's planning purposes. And similarly, the cycle map, to create a large-scale map of the whole of the city on one paper map, a new scale of 1 to 36,000 scale was produced. It includes safe bike routes and multi-trail routes in orange were added to this infrastructure. Mini landmarks and points of interest were developed for use at this scale. And other safety information was added to the product to help bike users feel confident on their journeys. And we also have other third-party systems that Steer have been involved in. So here we have the park and trail signage and waymarkers using our local area base map. Hopefully you can see that in the photograph on the left. But with the addition of all the natural features, so talking about tree coverage and capturing those really detailed access points in a lot of the valley parks in Toronto, where sometimes there's limited access with steps, and then to highlight where the actual accessibility areas are. So a lot more detail was put in to these park and trail signs. And we've also developed the Path Underground schematic map and wayfinding signage, which hopefully a lot of users in the area are familiar with. Tony, would you like to talk about Trauma?
Yes, to help Toronto to manage this system with all of this huge base map and these hundreds of different products, we provide an online portal. These are snapshots from the screenshots from the portal, and it's basically online. It's anyone any project members and stakeholders can log in there, and it'll give you a visualization of the whole of the city, or the whole base map, exactly as it is now. So it was implemented, it was put online as soon as we started to build the base map, so you can follow the base map as it grows in size and in detail, and you can track any changes in it, so you can see when they happened and what state it is. Then when we have these stakeholder workshops and we start to involve stakeholders to get their opinions, we get them to then proof the map, so they can log into the system and make any comments that they wish for requesting amends. And this slide here shows the product catalog, which actually shows every product that exists within the system is in there, and it's in there color-coded as to what product type it is. There's attributes in there like the angle of rotation of the product, when it was created, when it was printed, the latest updates and things. And you can also see the coverage of the product, or you can see a coordinate of where that sign is. You can see there's a point as well. And there's a thumbnail there to show you the latest print file, which you can actually click on that and get a downloaded PDF. And what this allows the management of the system to do is you can track any changes to the base map and when they've been carried out and when they've actually been made it to the base map. And you can also see which products need updating as a result of that change in the base map. So when you're planning maintenance, for example, of the system, which you need to update the signs, probably would say at most every 3 or at least every 3 years. You can actually, if you get a yearly budget for maintenance, you can direct those funds where it's most needed, like where all the changes have happened on the base map, or where most signs have been affected by those changes. The system, it allows people without any GIS skills at all, just go in and do this analysis and helps them with their planning. Thank you, Claire.
You're welcome. And so the future. So we're thinking about, obviously we've got these additional, this was, comparing that to the last one there, that's the current coverage. And this looking at another 200 plus signs along young and other town centres, updates, as Tony was saying, are identified now. The city are also looking at requiring new sponsorship changes, so if names change and therefore the mapping needs updated, so if the stadium changes to the Coca-Cola stadium, then looking for Coca-Cola themselves to pay for the updates required to keep the update relevant in those areas. So things like that, and also they're doing work on the sidewalk inventory to make accessible walk planner as a proof of concept, so including crossings, drop curbs, etc., so that there's something additional information to what people are able to access on Google Maps at the moment. And that's where we're heading kind of in the future. Hopefully, just got a few, like 1 or 2 minutes maybe for some questions. It's me up next anyway, so I'll take the hit.
Thank you, Claire. That was awesome. Claire and Tony both, great presentation. Love the work you've been doing.